Going again. Let's go. It'd be pretty funny if we had lost and I started like that. You know what I would do? You know what I would do if we had lost? I'd do this.
Oh wow. Someone got all the effects.
I got all the effects, man. This is what happens when you tune in. Guys, everybody watching, make sure you're watching on YouTube. Go to YouTube.
You can watch on Twitter too. Don't just diss,
Yeah, but they can't leave comments on Twitter,
Sure. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. Hey, we got a lot to talk about, man. We really do, because we got 2 games. We missed last game.
Talk about.
Yeah. I think I got some stuff I want to share too.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Might be that type of
from the insider.
Nah. But definitely just want to touch on some things. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Hold on, let me tweet this out from the Crazy Cast, because y'all don't run that page. Apparently, I gotta be the only one running that page. We see all the comments. Hold on, I'm gonna check them out in a second.
What's up? We got some Russells in the comments. Yeah,
that's what I don't like when y'all do that show without me. You just leave the chat section off the screen. Like, come on, bro. People gotta see the chat.
Colby said Ryan's had enough.
Yeah, Ryan, he's hiding. He punched. So update on Ryan. Ryan punched his wall so hard. Right now he's heading to urgent care to take care of his hand. But yeah, he was frustrated, especially when he saw Sean Stewart got pulled out the game early. He got really mad, and
people are gonna think you're telling the truth. By the way, this doesn't sound that unbelievable. You know what I mean?
It's facts. I don't lie on this, man. Come on, bro. Yeah, it's not wrong to laugh, man. It's not wrong to laugh. But yeah, let's get started. Hold on.
Yes, sir.
Find this thing. I'm rusty. Come on.
Trying not to score and everything. We got about 30 threes or something.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of felt that. We kind of feed off that energy.
This place is amazing. Like I really love Duke, and I love the atmosphere I'm in here.
Mark Williams, beast mode. Paolo first half, he had the cramping stuff. Fair enough. Beast mode.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy Cast. I'm back. Been a while. I think it's been like maybe a week or so, or a week and a half for me.
Yes.
But I'm here with my guy Russ. Ryan is somewhere out of contact. He's in the forest somewhere. No service. So it'll just be me and Russ tonight.
We got too many gummies for Ryan. One too many gummies.
Oh man. If the kids watching, I don't know what he's talking about. I think he's talking about actual gummy bears, like real candy.
Kinda.
But we did do an audio podcast only. So actually, let me start it off with that. Number one, shout out to the Field of 68. We will do more audio only shows. So please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Go ahead and follow us there, because we're definitely going to do a little bit more of that, because every time like Ryan is unavailable now, we can't always be live at the end of games, so we're going to give you more. Just some of them will be audio only, but yes, with that being said, I have a lot to talk about. We have last game against Pitt. We didn't talk about, we weren't live for that. We have tonight against Louisville. Ooh. We have, I see a lot of people ask me over the weekend, can y'all talk about Tyrese Proctor? Well, I guess that's dead now. We can talk about it now, but I don't think it's going to be the talk y'all want to have. Sean Stewart, a lot of stuff, but first let's start off with tonight. Another win, at least 9 of our last 10. What are your first thoughts, Russ, after tonight?
Had to win. Had to win. Won. Right? We just had to win it, and we did. We're at the point now where every game really matters. Really, really matters. And so we just can't lose at this point. Forget the ACC title race. That ship has probably sailed unless something very strange happens. That ship has sailed. But what ship has not sailed is the potential of, if we perform very, very well down the stretch and win a lot of games, we can still get like a 3 seed. I think that's completely reasonable. We can set ourselves up still, and we can grow, we can develop. And so that was something that we saw today, obviously, with the Sean Stewart minutes, which everyone has been asking for, and we got, and it was great. And he performed really well. I really hope he performs more going forward. People have been asking about Tyrese Proctor. We got some really good Tyrese Proctor today. When Jeremy Roach went out, he stepped up. I think there's definitely a question, and we can talk about this later, of like, whose team is it? You know what I mean? Like, we can have.
It's not a question. Is it a question?
I think from a game to game perspective, and like a half to half perspective, it kind of is. Like, we know who our most reliable guy is down the stretch. But outside, but who's the guy that like can get us 25 every night? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. We can have a conversation about it, right? But Proctor, at least tonight, showing some glimpses of, like, we thought that Proctor was going to be in that conversation, and when Roach went out, Proctor stepped forward, and that was really, really good to see. It was great to see Mark Mitchell looking healthy. Really need Jeremy Roach to be healthy for this stretch coming up.
I didn't mean to put that comment up for so long. I was really looking at my phone, just clicking comments. Ryan, my bad, bro. I did not.
He's roasting Ryan on the feed. Yeah, no, I get the look. If you define whose team is it by who gets the ball with 3 minutes left, then yes, it's Jeremy Roach, 100%. I completely agree. I just mean there are stretches like Jeremy Roach is the Quinn Cook of this team, right? Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment, Zion?
See,
or is he just having to do a lot more right now? Like, I think that in January of 2015, when Tyus was kind of struggling, Quinn Cook did have to do a little more.
But I will say with the Quinn Cook had Jaleel, so like there was a established, dominant number one force, and we're gonna touch on the guy who's supposed to be that, but like Jaleel was for sure number one. Like,
you're right.
It was him and Frank Kaminsky all year. Who's going to be player of the year? So I think it's a little bit different because I think we do rely on Jeremy Roach more than we relied on Quinn Cook.
But I think that's part of the issue. It's not that Jeremy can't do it, but we've got guys that can go off for 25 and who just aren't necessarily doing it consistently. And I think that's more of the issue that we have going on here. I was on the last podcast saying Jeremy Roach, in my opinion, should be a first-team All-ACC guy. You're not going to find somebody with more great things to say about Jeremy Roach than me. But I do think we need guys like Flip or Proctor, maybe. We've seen Jared McCain at times show flashes that he can score 20-plus in a game. I just wonder who is carrying us in the middle of games during those big runs. You know what I mean? Unblock me. You probably deserved it. So yeah, I want to know who. I want to know who runs everything on a play-by-play basis for the duration of a game. Because Jeremy Roach is the guy in the clutch, but I don't know that Jeremy Roach has consistently this year been a 25-plus point scorer type of dude.
Well, I mean, 25 plus. That's a hard number in college.
Off the bounce. He's creating a lot off the catch, right? And he's doing some dribble drive, which is nice. But I think the team is looking for Flip to be the guy, or is looking for, like they did tonight when Roach went out, is looking for Proctor to be the guy. I wonder going forward, especially when Roach gets back in. Like when Roach gets back in, is Proctor gonna sit back, because I think, as we talked about previously in the season, I kind of think the best version of this team is when Proctor is at his best and is being aggressive. Like, will he stay aggressive when Roach comes back?
But that's the thing. And I tweeted it before the game ended. If we get this Tyrese Proctor the rest of the season, and not even in terms of production, 24 points and all that, just in aggressiveness,
yes,
then number one, it's not going to be Jeremy. It's not going to be a matter of if he's going to fit with Jeremy. I think it's going to be Caleb Foster's moving back to the bench, and Tyrese Proctor is back as a starter. That's going to be I think the biggest change. But yeah, I just don't think 25 points per game in college is hard.
That was a random number.
Okay,
you know what I mean? That was a random number.
Yeah. And we're getting 18 a game from Flip. Although we're going to talk about Flip.
I know.
But I think 18, 19, 20 is the range you need for a great team with a lot of talent. I mean, Paolo, what was Paolo? 19, 18, maybe even less than that.
It might have been. It depended on the tempo that we were playing. I don't remember exactly the tempo we were playing that year, but yeah, we need. But Paolo is a great example because we've talked about repeatedly this season. Our offense sometimes needs a guy who we just throw the ball to, go get points for several possessions in a row. We saw Proctor do that tonight. It was great.
Yes.
Right. We have seen in other games Flip do that. We have also seen towards the ends of games, we have certainly seen Jeremy Roach do that in spots where we really needed him. And frankly, we've even seen at times Mark Mitchell get really aggressive and be a guy who could do that. So Mark doesn't have the diversity of skill set necessarily, but he can be really aggressive. He can do a lot of things.
Right.
So I don't know. It's an interesting role allocation situation that we've got going on is really what I've been dancing around here.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, Flip should be that guy. I guess we could just jump into Flip. Flip should be that guy. He should be, the guy we could throw the ball to, get a bucket every time, or at least not get a bucket. What he was doing at the end of last year was, drawing fouls, which, could sometimes land him in trouble because he's contact searching all the time. But yeah, it goes back to our last conversation, our last podcast with me on. We got to jump into it, man, because I remember vividly someone had an A- for Flip, and I told you exactly why. There's no chance in hell Flip deserved an A- for his first half of the season.
I didn't even give him an A-. I gave him an A.
You gave him an A. Yeah, you gave him an A.
Yeah, correct.
You gave him a perfect grade essentially, because that's
I gave Jeremy Roach an A+. I gave Jeremy Roach.
There is no A+, brother. When we're looking at
there is an A+.
When we're looking at the college grading scale, if you have all A's, you have a 4.0. So Flip was given.
Well, Jeremy Roach has a 4.5.
Flip was given a perfect score, and I said there's no way in hell we could give Flip a perfect score because he has too many games where he disappears. And, he gets off to slow starts. And in hindsight, that kind of is what leads to our losses. And then what leads to our games of struggle, because the guy we look to lean on isn't, either anchoring us down the stretch or getting us off to a good start. Then who are we leaning on? We're leaning on, we're hoping Tyrese Proctor shows up. We're hoping Jeremy McCain has, a big game. We're hoping, Jeremy Roach leads us. Flip, in my opinion, I don't think, like I always say, I don't think he's having a bad season. He's not having a bad season, but we're too often looking at inconsistency and not dominance. And I think his dominance was supposed to he was supposed to take that step. And for just judging off of his end last year, and to me, I don't want to say he's taking a step back, but it's not a step up from last year. This is not a step up. I don't think, he's been the player that we need, overall.
Yeah, he really didn't respond well to our audio podcast, did he? He put me in a bad spot. Come on, man. You got to when I give you the A,
before you get into him, before you get into them, I did want to highlight we are back with Twitter comments. Shout out to Twitter, everybody on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got Twitter comments, man. They coming in. Like, shout out my guy Justin, who's been following me for a long time.
Man,
Shout out to the Twitter people.
I didn't know that changed. That's great.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted about it a little bit today, and somebody left a comment. I saw it go by. There is a distinct difference between frustrated Flip and pissed Flip. And I think that pissed Flip is really good and really aggressive and looks more to assert his will rather than draw fouls. Right? Like, I do think Flip gets caught up in the I'm trying to draw fouls game. I think that he gets frustrated when he turns the ball over and he kind of does the like, you know, like, that wasn't a foul. Are you serious? Right? He gets into that mode for stretches, more stretches than we need, because I think, again, if we're trying to draw a very loose 2015 comparison, we do kind of need him to be the Okafor of this team. And Okafor had consistency, and Flip has had games where he is great. He's had stretches. He obviously had some plays tonight that were really good in key moments where we definitely needed him, and he delivered. And so that was great. But he also had bits where we were starting to slide, where we looked to him and he looked frustrated rather than going, this is my team, I'm throwing the team on my back. Instead, he looked a little sulky. And I said on our audio only show, I don't mind if he looks sulky as long as he is playing hard consistently and delivering. But if he's looking sulky and not delivering consistently, then that's a problem, obviously. So yeah, it's not been a good week for Flip. I need to re-up my KenPom subscription. It actually expired this afternoon. Ironically, because I was going to look up, I would imagine that he's probably dipped a little bit in their KenPom Player of the Year rankings.
Man, those KenPom rankings don't mean nothing, bro.
Because I know they don't mean anything to you.
Even when they had Flip second, I told you, RJ Davis right now is the ACC Player of the Year.
Yeah, I agree. I
don't think it's close at this point. I really don't think it's close.
I think you're right. Especially given that they are going to win the ACC by like 2 games or more, and he can't miss any shots ever at any point, apparently. Yeah, I mean, that is a huge, huge problem. I like that you pulled up this comment. For those of you listening, which, by the way, everybody here, if you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to us. And even if you're watching right now or listening right now, do download this podcast when it drops so that we can once again boost those Apple numbers. The comment is, Duke's biggest problem is MFs come in and don't fear Duke. They pull up with hands in their face and drive with ease because they can. Well, part of the pulling up with hands in the face is because our backcourt is short, which obviously bit us in the ass against Pittsburgh in a massive way. But I do think there is a disconnect between what we expect Cameron Indoor, especially going back to last game, what we expect Cameron Indoor Stadium defense to be versus what has delivered. And this honestly even goes back. I know we won every game at Cameron last year, but it even goes back to the last couple of years of K's era. Teams don't seem as intimidated by Cameron right now. And I kind of wonder if there is a sense of complacency. You know, maybe it was you that texted me this, Zion, that Flip had made a comment after the Pitt game of, oh, well, like, this is their championship. Wasn't it you that texted me this?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't think that is a good comment normally I don't give a shit what players say after a game. I don't think that's a good comment, largely because of what it implies. It implies that Pitt wanted it more. And when our ability to win a championship and especially an ACC championship or a national championship, depends largely upon making sure we get good seeding, making sure we are progressing. If we don't care about games at home, then, like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like every game at Cameron Indoor Stadium should be Duke's championship. Like they should 100% hold serve at home no matter what. They should be the ones with more energy than the opponent at all times, no matter what, especially at home. On the road, it gets harder. I get it. But like at home, that was the worst part of the pit. Not even that we lost 2 starters down. It was the effort level. It was the energy level. It was the fact that players didn't seem pissed that Pitt was doing this to us. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that really needs to change this season more than anything else. And that's what kind of has been haunting Duke a little so far this season. We've got to flip that switch and look like the team that wants to win more rather than the team that is the championship for everyone else. Because if we play with that mentality, you know whose championship it's going to be? The first round of the NCAA tournament when we play a seed. It's going to be their championship, right? And so if we go in thinking, well, it's their championship, that's bad news, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that like I don't like even. I think I tweeted something and I just took it down because I'm like I'm not even going to try to draw that negativity to Flip. But even the fact that Flip said that it was a little like, okay, this team doesn't have the mindset right, or at least, from the outside looking in, saying something like this was the other team's championship as to why they came out with energy, why, they beat you on that night. You can't be saying that. Not a player. That's a Duke Twitter. That is a Duke Twitter comment. That is not a comment for a Duke player. Let the Duke Twitter people say that was their championship. If you're wearing Duke on your
chest, the actual Luke Kennard in the comments. I hope it's actually Luke Kennard.
Where is he? Is it Twitter?
No, somebody. I just see a comment scrolling by that says Russ is.
That hilarious. Is probably Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard be watching the show. Let me click.
Well, shout out Luke Kennard, man, dude. I tell you what. First of all, one of the best offensive players I've ever seen. But when you look at the worst teams that Duke has lost to in the last 25 years at Cameron, Duke has lost 6 of them in the last.
That's not the real Luke Kennard, by the way.
Oh, whatever. I still shout out Luke Kennard.
I've seen him watch the show before, though.
Yeah. The worst teams that Duke has lost to in Cameron in the last 25 years. 7 of them, like all 7 of them, have been 2017 and later. 6 of the 7 have been 2020 and later. And 5 of them were 2021 and later. Obviously 2021 was 3 of those losses, right? But like, I think it says something that from 1999 all the way to 2016, we didn't lose bad games at Cameron. We never did. Part of it was that the ACC was actually good. But like, we didn't lose bad games at Cameron ever. And now we've got to be at a point where we're worried even about home games, dude.
Yeah. But I won't even say that fully. I'm worried about home games. Just because, last year we did go undefeated at home.
We did, and that was great. Yeah. But it's not even like we didn't have a couple of stinkers at home that we just won. You know what I mean?
But I do think that's consistent every year. We do have some stinkers at home.
Not against teams this bad, man. Not against teams this bad.
Yes, but I will say, I'm not making an excuse that yes, 2 of our starters were out, but you definitely have to factor it into that home. I don't think we're going to be in a situation. We're definitely going to be in some close games. Carolina. I don't even know who else is coming to Cameron.
Clemson this weekend.
Clemson. Oh no, have been all year on the train that Clemson they're a fraud team. But let me knock on wood because we played them this weekend.
Hall, man.
Clemson.
You knocked, and my dog thinks someone's at the door now.
Oh, my fault. But yeah, I think for the most part we get it done at home. It was kind of different circumstances this time around, but obviously, still can't have the mentality that Flip said of this is going to be their championship because, as a Duke player, you should expect that. You should expect that you should show up to play every game. Every game matters in college basketball.
We also almost lost, if we're being honest, to Georgia Tech at Cameron. We almost got swept by Georgia Tech, right? We had a couple plays go our way at the end. Shouldn't have ever been that close. Georgia Tech is a bad team. I know they beat us at home, or I know they beat us at Georgia Tech, and they gave us a hell of a game at Cameron. Doesn't matter. They are not a good team on the whole sample size. They're just not.
Yeah.
And we let them hang around. We messed around with them. We played with our food. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. Like, we shouldn't do that. When guys post on Twitter, this shit drives me. It's taking all my strength to not swear a lot. You know what I mean? I'm trying to hold it back. But when I see people online being like, in 2004, we would struggle in January too. Yeah, dude, to teams that were just outside the top 25.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we lose to teams that are like a 2 seed in the NIT, and that's like the worst possible loss that we would have that season. Shit is different now. It just is. And in ACC play, Georgia Tech is not sniffing the NIT, dude. Pitt is not making the NIT unless some shit really goes their way. And we let them off the hook, as the line famously goes, right?
Yeah,
it's different, man.
Even to that point, like, I was scrolling. I forgot who. I don't think it was with y'all. I was talking with my friends. I was looking at the ACC with Jason Tatum's year. We're talking about. You're talking about the worst teams. The worst teams in the conference. Pittsburgh, NC State. They had pros. They had Dennis Smith Jr., a top 6 pick. Pitt had Cam Johnson at the time, who was making $100 million in the NBA. Like, then you just start scrolling up. Start looking at Virginia has 3 pros. Wake has John Collins. Every team had an elite player or player that's playing in the NBA, and then obviously about six teams were ranked.
But you know what? But you know what happens when you bring up that shit, though? People would be like, "Well, Blake Henson could play in the NBA." I mean, maybe, but he's not an NBA player now. Like, that team is not good, dude. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
and
crazy.
The ACC is nothing. Like, I get people saying,
we struggle in the ACC.
We struggle in January and all that, but like, it's
never at home like that, dude.
We don't. Although we've had some bad home losses over the years, but we don't.
I just listed them. I listed the worst ones.
Yeah, for sure. But I just think obviously we just don't have the leverage or the opportunities to recover as much as we did in the past, which is obvious. But yeah, I think Duke still. Carolina's right now is in. Obviously, they have full control of the ACC. They control their own destiny. But Duke has to make sure that they at least get one in that rivalry. At least one. Aim for two. Obviously.
Duke's only real shot at an ACC regular season title is to sweep UNC and not lose another game, which is just not realistic with what we've seen from the team so far. We couldn't even cover against a historically bad Louisville program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
but
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. Moving on to another person we got to talk about, because this guy has been a big topic on our show, and we stopped talking about him.
Oh, Sean Stewart.
Yeah. And now we're back. We're back to Mr. Sean Stewart.
Your tone made it sound like we were going to talk about somebody bad again. I was like,
oh no. We're gonna touch on Sean Stewart first, because it's been, some, I guess, polarizing, it's been a polarizing debate. People saying Sean Stewart shouldn't be anywhere near the floor. He's always lost on the court.
Oh, God.
Some people saying Sean Stewart should start. There's an in between, I think, where we have kind of resided, where we believe that it doesn't hurt to play Sean Stewart. It doesn't hurt to play Sean Stewart, and you have to, number one, build up his confidence. I think a lot of people see he's a jitterbug on defense. He's very all over the place sometimes, but you got to factor in as a young kid coming in, his confidence is definitely not as high as it should be. When you're kind of getting pulled every time you do something wrong, it's gonna kill your confidence. And now you've seen over the past games he has played. He'll make some good plays. He'll have some bad plays, but you kind of got to factor in he's playing every 6 games, or he's playing every 3 games in important minutes. But tonight, John Scheyer decided, it was time to give him some important minutes on the run. And I think we kind of saw his value with this team. No one's saying he has to drop 10 and 10. I don't even need 5 points from him. He just got to be an active body, provide defensive help, be a lob threat for us at times, hit your free throws when you can. But I thought we unlocked something now with this flip Sean and Mark front court. Defensively, I love it. Offensively, it's going to bring what it does. And I think against better teams, they might, attack, maybe easily to shut us down offensively. But there's a lot of defensive upside with those 3 in the front court. So I think it's time to fully unleash Sean Stewart.
Yeah. There are people who will suggest that you don't know basketball if you think that Sean Stewart should be playing more. And I think those people don't know basketball. I am always just sort of befuddled. One of the things that people used to ride Roy Williams' ass about was that he would play guys who were young who he would make mistakes and he'd leave them out there. Like, people would get mad that he wasn't playing his stars 35 minutes. But also Roy was a very effective, say what you will about him, he was a very effective developer of talent. You know what I mean? So Duke, if John really does want to be a guy, and he's talked about it in interviews where he's got continuity year in and year out, you've got to play the young guys. You have to, even if they make mistakes. You have to let them make mistakes, play through those mistakes, make positive impact, learn from their mistakes, and grow. And Sean Stewart shows enough positive value on the court when he's there. I mean, use your eyes. He's playing with energy every single time he's out there. Sometimes he gets a little lost in rotations. You know who else does? Jared McCain and Caleb Foster. You know what I mean? But we play them, because they're young, and we get through it, right? I don't know why there's a reluctance there when Sean is clearly more switchable on the perimeter than Ryan Young. God, those Pittsburgh possessions where we had Ryan guarding the perimeter 3 or 4 times. You could point to those choices and say, these are things that cost us a game. Sean Stewart is not a liability out there. He's not. He might let some things slide off ball, but he's a freshman. He's got to learn. And we saw tonight just how much energy he provided. We were in a very close game. And this is one of the most optimistic things I can say about, how Sean's minutes played out. We were in a close game. Sean was in there. He committed a foul or 2, right? But John let him keep playing. And notice the game stopped being as close, right? The lead started to grow. And instead of pulling him out, we left him in. And the lead was secured. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that if you let him learn from his mistakes and keep playing, that on a large sample, that he is a net positive player. And furthermore, he's a guy that we absolutely want next year with Cooper Flagg. We've got to make, I'm just going to say straight up, John Scheyer, play Sean Stewart, because I want to see Cooper Flagg and Sean Stewart in a front court running transition opportunities next season. It would be fucking lightning, dude. It would be incredible. But you've got to play him. You've gotta play him, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
it's not like so. It'd be one thing if Duke was a 1 seed right now with what was happening, right? If Duke was a 1 seed, then it's like, okay, trust the process. I understand. We're not. So let's try some things.
And even with that, I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Ryan, not Ryan. Why say Ryan? Sean, Sean shouldn't. Must be having terrible practices. Must be, the worst practice player if he's not able to get on the floor." From what I've heard,
twiddling his thumb. You know what I mean?
From what I've heard, Sean had to learn 3 positions, so the 3, the 4, and the 5.
It takes time.
It takes time for a freshman to definitely get right. So I've heard he's up to speed at this point. But that was like the kind of the hurdle he had, and that's hard. I know a lot of people, and it kind of goes back to Russ's point. You got to let freshmen fail. We look at last year, Derek Lively in the beginning of the season. Y'all remember what he looked like?
Oh, my mentions, dude. My mentions. Come on.
like Derek Lively. People weren't like, I remember Duke's Twitter vividly because I was fighting against it. People were saying Derek Lively should be getting DMPs. Should not be on the court.
I had a very high-ranking sports media member who will go unnamed say to me, maybe Derek Lively is just a pussy. And I was like, dude, he's 18 or whatever. He's gonna have some dud games. Everyone does. People don't remember Tyus Jones's bad games in the middle of the season because he was great at the end of the season. People don't remember Jason Tatum having some struggle games because he turned it on. Like every freshman is going to take lumps unless you're one of the best players on planet Earth already at age 18, which very, very few people are. So let him play, man.
And the kid, I mean, he won, what's the iron,
the iron whatever. Yes.
I forgot what it is. Yeah, the best in the weight room.
I don't think it's the Iron Horse.
It's not the Iron Horse. Someone will say it in the comments.
It's some shit like this.
He's the best in the weight room. But that just shows his character that he's definitely a hard-working kid. He's not like a guy who's just expecting. The guy, you look at the guy on the bench. Mark had a dunk today. He jumped off his chair like Jordan Goldwire used to do. I don't see why that guy you would keep him off the floor. Seems like a guy that's just going to bring energy. I mean, that's what we want him to do. Is just bring energy, give us athleticism, give us the option to sometimes switch 1 through 5, and I feel like he could do all those consistently. I will say he definitely has to work on his timing with shot blocking because all season he's been a little. Today he got one, although it was debatable. He got one.
Did he get credit for 2?
I don't know. I didn't see.
He had at least one more.
Where he had 2.
He had at least one more where he affected it in a huge way.
Yeah, and I do love that. He loves challenging the rim. We got to use that, especially for a team that lacks athleticism. There's an option right here that you don't have to play. Nobody's saying play Sean Stewart for 20 minutes. Give him 10 minutes. Let him impact the game, and if he's giving you more, play him the rest of the game. So, I think it's time just to put him in the rotation.
I don't know why, and especially with the problems that we so clearly had against Pitt without Mark Mitchell in the game. I've tweeted about this endlessly. In May, I tweeted our guard depth is fine. Our big man depth was fine because we were looking at Shedrick, we were looking at Uday, we were looking at all these big men. I was like, do we need to look at a wing though? Because like a wing with size, because we've got Mark Mitchell who can guard guys who are like 6'7", 6'8", but who else on the team can guard guys who are 6'7", 6'8", consistently all game? No, none of them. Right? People would say to me, "Well, Tyrese Proctor." Yeah, dude, but look at the Blake Hinson matchup. Blake Hinson's 6'7", 230, and Tyrese Proctor's 6'5", 180. You know what I mean? That's not a fair ask. We need another guy who can do that, and Sean Stewart can do that. he's gonna foul a lot. He's a freshman. He's learning the defense, like you said. He's learning multiple positional defensive roles, but like, look at his rebounding, look at the shot blocking, look at the energy. If we're playing Jalen Blakes to guard fours at times, which we've done, I see no reason why, and I love Jalen Blakes, but I see no reason why we can't play Sean Stewart for some of those minutes. Like right. It's baffling to me. And again, hopefully, I'm very, very hopeful that John saw and learned from what I would consider a mistake last game. But I'm not paid millions of dollars, but I would consider it a mistake last game. And play him more, just to see if he commits 5 fouls in 10 minutes. Okay, then give him the Josh Hairston Award and let him sit on the bench, and it's fine. But like, let him get through it. Let him work through it. Mark Williams. Somebody brought up Mark Williams. It took Mark Williams 2 years. Dude, do you remember Mark Williams's defense away from the ball freshman year? Like, remember in the ACC tournament in his freshman year, we played against Boston College, and there was that like 6'8" dude with a neck beard who was like, 220 or whatever, who was just like posting up Mark and going to work. And now, and like 2 or 3 years later, Mark Williams is a terrific NBA defender. You got to let him play.
Yeah. ACC Defensive Player of the Year, year 2.
ACC Defensive Player of the Year, year 2. Year 1, end of the year, he's getting owned by a neckbeard from Boston College. Year 2, ACC Defensive Player of the Year. You got to let these guys take their lumps.
Yeah. Oh, someone did ask. I forgot who asked it, but they said you guys have to talk about it. So I guess we could touch on it briefly. Do you think Emile Jefferson leaving has affected our development of bigs?
I don't know. Is my bullshit answer. It's just, wasn't he only on the bench for a couple of years at Duke? Like 2-3 years, something like this?
When did Emile leave? He left this summer.
Yeah. And so he was there. He was there for like 2 years on the bench, maybe?
Yeah, 2 or 3. I think a 3.
Yeah, and like most of those guys, struggled at the beginning and got better. That's definitely true. But like, Sean could get better. And also I think Flip is different. I think Flip is different than like, it's also easy for us to sit here and say, well, he helped Mark Williams and Derek Lively develop, when Mark Williams and Derek Lively are freaks. Like, Mark Williams and Derek Lively are giants with insane wingspans and very good basketball IQ, who can leap out of the gym, and they know their role like very precisely. And I think that's different than what Flip is being asked to do.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I don't think, if the question is like, is Emile leaving why Flip is having some struggles here? I mean, maybe Flip and Emile were getting along. I don't know, possibly. But I also I think it's a different type of game that Flip is having to play.
Yeah. I won't fully discredit Emile. I think definitely Mark Williams, there's definitely development there, especially.
I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying he's not.
Yeah.
It's just like a very different like piece of clay to sculpt than Flip is, and especially given the role that Flip is being asked to play. Right. We don't know what Emile was like with a guy who is popping threes, or a guy that can't like dunk over people with like insane alacrity, right? Like, I don't, it's harder for Flip to do those things. So he's got to work a little harder and figure out some of those things. But Flip also, let's also be clear when we talk about like expectation. Flip is so much better this year than he was last year. Also, like,
don't say so much better, bro. Let's not get back into that conversation, bro.
No, I'm not saying he lived up to expectations in the same way that Proctor hasn't lived up to expectations either. But like, in the same way that Proctor hasn't lived up to expectations, but is provably better than he was last year, I think Flip is also provably better than he was last year. So it's not like he's not developing. It's not like he's going backwards. Yeah. It's just he's not where this team kind of really needs him to be in terms of consistency.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I agree with Connor's point a little bit too, that there is a bit of an athleticism issue at times with Flip,
Yeah.
I think.
Although the thing is with Flip and athleticism, I've seen bigs less athletic be more dominant.
Yeah.
I do feel like part of it is approach and mindset. Like just even the aspect of someone mentioned it in the comments, consistently shooting fadeaway jumpers in the post, or consistently searching for contact, the pump faking when he's under the rim. Like I think it's slight tweaks to his approach, that could change completely how he's dominant.
How many of the less athletic bigs are sophomores who are also being asked to be the number one guy on their team? You know what I mean?
The first guy I think of though was Drew Timme, because Flip is more athletic than Drew Timme.
Oh, definitely.
And Flip probably has a better outside. He has a better outside shot than Drew Timme.
Oh, 100%. And he's a better passer than Drew Timme.
Yeah. So I think it's like the athleticism thing is not an excuse to me, at least on the college level. Pro level, for sure.
Drew Timme's footwork was just insane. There could be Drew Timme was also playing plumbers and firemen half the season. He's great. Don't get me wrong. Drew Timme is someone who is unbelievable at the game of basketball. But again, I don't know. It's hard. There's no excuse. And I mean, maybe this can segue into what we also need to talk about, which is like what our outlook is season wise going forward.
But
Tristan's also pointing out sophomore Timme maybe not so great.
I'd have to look at the numbers, but before we jump into the team aspect, one person we do probably have to talk about is Tyrese Proctor. I don't think we've talked about Tyrese Proctor tonight. 24 points, 4 assists.
A little at the beginning.
Did we? I forget.
Yeah, it's because I was talking and you weren't listening. No, I think that if we can get some not even from a scoring perspective, but from an aggression perspective, if we can get a Tyrese Proctor like this throughout the season, then Duke's ceiling gets so much higher. I mean, like our season is significantly higher upside if Tyrese Proctor is driving to the hole, is doing those step backs. I don't think there's going to be a junior year Proctor. I love him. I would love nothing more, but I don't think it's going to happen, dude. He's too good. The flashes are too sexy. So, we'll see, but again, we need consistency because we've seen Tyrese do these things in flashes. It's the same question with Flip. We've seen Flip be dominant for stretches. It's about, can we do it like every game without like a 10 to 12 minute stretch where we're like, what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
That's something that we could certainly work on. But Proctor's even younger than Flip, if I recall correctly. I mean, Proctor's a young dude. So like, and clearly strength is still an issue. I'm assuming, Monty, you're referring to Brendan Marks saying that he assumes Tyrese Proctor will come back next year. I would personally assume differently than Brendan Marks. I think he is only making that assumption based on the fact that Proctor is not projected as a first-round draft pick anywhere, which is true. But it's a question of, do we think that Proctor would rather come back or leave and maybe be picked in like the high second round? It's a great question that I don't have a good answer to. It depends on his NIL, certainly. It depends on how much he likes the guys he's playing with, I guess. It depends on a lot of things.
Yeah. I do think he still has first. I do think he still has first round potential. I don't think that's gonna really tonight. Tonight is like, I could see Jonathan Givney be posting the highlights from tonight, and be like, "Oh, this is why we projected him as a top 10 pick before the season." Like it really only takes a couple of games to flash this. He may do it. He may need it in a bigger game.
He needs it in a
Maybe,
bigger game.
Yeah, he does this against UNC. Yeah, he does this against UNC, and he doesn't have to play. Like I told y'all, remember last year, Derek Lively. Once he had that game against Armando Bacot, it was sealed. Top 10 pick. Top 10 pick. Sure. That was locked.
I agree. I think Proctor and McCain both, their numbers against good teams are significantly lower. And so I do think for either of them, they have time, that's true, but not a lot of opportunity, way less opportunity than you'd think. We've got we've got 2 UNC games, maybe Clemson, but there's not a lot of high profile guards that he's going to get to go up against there in the ACC, So yeah, I think Proctor and McCain are both shooting last I looked, something like sub 20% from 3 in big games. Those numbers have to be better. They just do. I think that both of them could theoretically be back. I just think Proctor, with this being his second year, it'd be more likely that he would go. But you never know.
Yeah. Bruce, one thing I'll say is I hate that people are kind of attaching this team to a one and done era because it's not a one and done era team. I understand that it's just one extra year, but we can't really compare this team to a one and done team just off the fact that, we have 3 freshmen returning and then we have a junior returning.
Isn't Bruce Wayne a UNC fan? Dude, Roy Williams was famous for conning these dudes into coming back multiple years.
Come on, bro.
Come on.
Baycott was a McDowell's All-American, brother, there for 5 years, man. Come on, bro.
Yeah, they bullied Walker Kessler, NBA player Walker Kessler out of town. They bullied Day'Ron Sharp into leaving early. NBA player NBA player-ish Day'Ron Sharp. You know what I mean? That's,
better this year.
Yeah, he's all right. Yeah, I don't know what'll happen with next year's guard rotation. That's a problem for later. Really, I want to put all of my positive energy and vibes into this season going well enough that Proctor can go. You know what I mean? That's what we want. We want the season to go well enough that Proctor is a first-round pick and that he can become a really nice NBA player. That would be nice.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started on Theo Pinson. That, bro. I'm not even going. I'm gonna stay off it. Tyrese Proctor. Yes, I agree. Kind of like we mentioned earlier. If we do get this Tyrese Proctor, the rest of the season, I think number 1, he'll probably enter back into the draft talks, and it'll raise Duke's ceiling. I do feel like Proctor will still leave personally if he's a second rounder. I think it's possibly because Caleb Foster is not entering in the draft. I mean, we can pretty much guarantee that at this point. I feel like he'll benefit from a second year more than anybody else. So,
Yeah, he had a really tough – he was – I don't want to be dismissive because he's a freshman and, freshmen are going to take their lumps. He was running laps tonight. You know what I mean? He was logging miles. What were his stats? 27 minutes, he took 2 shots, missed them both, 1 rebound or two rebound. I can't see it from here.
Two rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 0 points.
My man was running laps, man. It's fine. Freshmen are going to have bad games. Jared McCain, until he hit that big 3 at the end, was having a struggle game too. Well, freshmen, it's not a judgment against them. I will be very, very stoked when those guys are in Duke uniforms next year. He was getting some cardio. He put on his Apple Watch. He clicked on the picture of Common, and he he got his Apple Exercise Plus workout in. Nick is playing 4 guards at once, even though they're great. A mistake. It depends on the lineup. Preseason, I did an entire podcast on my old show about how I was very concerned about what our defense would look like with 3 guards on the floor, much less 4. And I think a lot of those concerns have bore fruit. Like I think that, luckily Jeremy Roach has improved tremendously on that end. But Proctor being injured and not being his full self, McCain and Foster, I think, are decent on ball. But again, they're freshmen. They're struggling off ball. They'll be better next year. I have full confidence in that. They'll be better by the end of this year. They'll just play through it.
I do.
Yeah, Connor's making an interesting point.
No, I don't think it's interesting. I'll be honest. I'm very against it because I think we've seen more sample sizes of freshmen returning that have good sophomore years rather than this year what it was. And also this year I think was a different situation because it was 3 of them rather than most years where it's one. Where you look at a Grayson, you look at a Luke Kennard, you look at a Trey Jones. I think we have more history of it working than this year. I mean, Mark Williams. Matt
Hurt. I mean, he's not a guard.
Matt Hurt.
Another huge leap from freshman to sophomore year. Yeah, right. Generally our freshman to sophomore leaps are sizable. My only concern is not about my only concern is about Foster is not about his play. His play will be tremendous. I think that Duke fans in particular, and especially with Cooper Flagg on the team, we want like a very pure point guard, like a pass first guy, your Joneses, your Proctor to some extent, right? Who can score, but also look to create first and foremost. And Foster just hasn't maybe had the opportunity to show that as much so far this season. So I would understand some reluctance on the part of some Duke fans if we think, hey, he's our creator for others next season. He has been solid for a freshman. And obviously McCain has been tremendous. It's just a question of are these guys the guys who create for others at a high enough rate in order to run the show. I do think Foster will be fine in that regard, but I also concede that so far this season, he has not shown it at a high sample. Yeah.
Yes, Jeremy Roach can come back.
I mean, I'd love it, but I don't think it'll happen. I think he's proven enough.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll return to college, but you never know. You never know. It's another year, another NIL bag. You never know.
And he's not. There is something interesting about the fact that he is not like. Again, I don't mean this as shade at all. He's not an NBA draft prospect at all. He's a guy who, if he plays in the league, will have to go to the G League and he'll have to play his way up. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And so I do think that provides interesting NIL opportunity for a guy like Jeremy to return if he so chooses. Again, I would love it. He's been such a calming and steadying force. And next year's team is going to be young, like very young, younger than Ryan.
I will say Christian Reeves. There's some whispers he might be done for the year. I don't think it's official.
I would be stunned if he came back.
Surgery is possibly option.
Even if he doesn't, you have to think that red shirt is on the table to save the season. I mean, like you just have you have to think that that's going to be what happens. Like unless something drastic changes. I mean, maybe he's just not officially redshirting because maybe something drastic could change and in case of emergency break glass. But like I think it would be wise for him to save this season.
Yeah, I don't think he's fit for this season anyway.
I agree.
But yes, okay, we could talk about the outlook. What do you say? Well, let me answer this. What are the chances? Why you gotta say the African big man? Why can't you just say his name? Type his name out, bro. Why you gotta say the African? Like for those listening, Brandon McStay asked, "What's the chances Duke gets the African big man?" That is a crazy question, bro. You could have just typed his name, or maybe shortened his name, gave him a nickname, saying,
We did give him a
said
nickname.
He said African. That's crazy. That's crazy. I
Oh,
hope you know I am African myself, Brandon. So come on, brother. Be
yeah,
better.
but we know he's not talking about you because you're not a big man.
Yeah. But still.
Bro, his name is not 40 letters, bro. His name is like 13 letters.
Yo, that is what is the word? Is it xenophobic? Is the word?
That shit is xenophobic.
Yo, come on, Brandon. Be better, bro.
Bro, my
Don't
man's
do
name
that.
is 13 letters, I bet. I don't have it in front of me, but I bet it's 13. You know what I mean?
Yo, you could have just said KM.
40 letters. You think he's one of the
Nah.
Antetokounmpos or whatever, you know what I mean?
We're not making it racial. Relax, Wally. But I think like we kind of discussed this on the last episode, no?
Yeah.
Or at least the audio pod. But yeah, I think Duke has a good chance. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Seems
Luol Deng connection is strong. And he is someone that, I mean, typically people from the NBA Academy Africa, they're not really in tune with the collegiate level and what happens in college. And Lou is really close to him. So Lou is going to be a voice in his ear that may be pushing. We don't know if he's pushing him to Duke. We can assume that, he's going to pitch Duke as an option. But yeah, he could still very well go back to the NBA Academy. The G League night is an option. But I think Duke has a good chance. And if they do add him, I saw Givney had him as
Number 3.
the third pick. Yeah, overall, which is crazy. That's Duke possibly having a 1 and 3. Usually when that happens, we make a deep run. So that would be fun.
I get a little worried, especially as it pertains to Givney, Givony. I don't know how to say Givony's name. I'll be honest.
Yeah, Givony's harder than I think it's Maluak.
I hope you're saying it right.
I've heard like broadcasts say Maluak.
Okay, I have not heard his name pronounced out loud once. All I know is that when we talked about it with Ryan's pronunciation was
Maliki.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say he wasn't in the ballpark, but it was a big stadium, you know what I mean? So I just always think, first of all, like when Givony has dudes who are international prospects, he tends to rank them really, really high in terms of their upside, not in terms of their college readiness. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not even saying that the dude is not college ready, but like he had like 2 of those UCLA guys in his top 10 at the beginning of the season or whatever. And UCLA stinks because those guys like just straight up aren't ready to play college right now. Again, I'm not saying this guy isn't, but when it's an international player, sometimes because of like the varying degree of competition they're playing, sometimes it can be a bit of a roll of the dice. The other thing that I would say is, and I think I texted you about this. Anytime a dude is rumored to be choosing between a college and like G League, Ignite, or pro options, I just always assume they're going pro. Like that's no insight. Like I have no scoop. I have no actual clue. It's just, I feel like when Ignite is mentioned and when pro options are mentioned, like 90% of the time, dudes just take a pro route. So, I think it would be great to have him just in terms of the sheer size and talent. Certainly I've seen some clips of him. The guy's got unicorn potential all over him. It would be really cool to have him. But I also think that getting like a big man in the portal who is older so that we have some serious age on our roster along with the freshmen and sophomores that will be there, because it's going to be a very freshman, sophomore heavy roster next season. So if we can get a senior or 2 in there through the portal, that would be really, really valuable in my opinion. So
all right.
We'll see. Either direction. I think we can't lose. If we get him, it would be great. If we don't get him, there are paths for it to be great all the same.
Do you have a final pronunciation guess?
Me?
Yes. Go ahead.
You're not catching me out there like that.
Give us something. Give us
You're not
something.
catching me out there like that.
Russ, give us something. We have the
AM.
answer. So
My man's
give
name
us
is
something.
AM.
Oh, you're weak. You're weak. All right, here's the official pronunciation. Here is the official pronunciation.
Malwatch. Malwatch is my last name.
You know what's so
Maluach.
I think Jamie Shaw said in the comments on the show with Ryan, I think he said I knew it ended in Och, but I wasn't sure about everything else. But I was pretty sure it ended in Och. So
You
Malawak.
weren't sure about everything else. Everything else was easy.
Yeah, I know. I'd never seen a clip of him say his own name or even of an announcer say his name. So I was like, shit, man, I just don't know. Like until I find out, I don't know. So that's the first time I've seen it. That's great. Now I know how to say it. Malawach. That's easy.
Malawach. So we got
and
it.
Common how you say his first name?
Yeah, you said common. Let's play it one more time for the listeners on online and on the pod.
Malwatch. Malwatch is my last name.
Yeah.
Common.
Yeah, Common
Okay.
Malawach. Great. Yeah, somebody said Russ is smarter than Ryan with this. Yeah, Ryan dove in head first. He just went for it. You know,
Probably said Maluki.
Called him the African big man is what he calls.
The last thing we could jump into are, I guess, overall expectations for this team. Where are we landing right now? In your eyes, what are we? A second round team, first round team, Final Four, championship?
Yeah, so much of it depends on the seed. So much of it depends on the seed. You know, I think if we end up like Torvik has us projected as a 5 seed right now, you know, with how he projects the rest of the season to go, I think that's very fair. I think if we're a 5 seed, it's going to be a battle because you're going to have a really brutal first round draw. You're going to have one of the best mid-majors in the country. And then you're going to have some 4 seed, probably again, another try hard physical ass SEC team. So, I mean, that's going to be a brutal draw. I think if we can win enough games, we get to a 3 seed. I like a lot more our chances to do Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8. And once you're in the Elite 8, you know, like what happens to the team at the top of the bracket? We don't know what happens in those first 3 games, right? Like it's about creating the opportunity for yourself. And so for me, I'm less concerned about what happens in the actual tournament. I'm way more concerned about the seed. Can we get to a 3 seed? That's my number one focus.
Yeah,
and when they're healthy, I think they can get there. But I mean, we were healthy in the first half of this game and, you know, had some dry spells here and there. Like I think consistency is going to be massive for these guys. And I think it's too soon to say whether this team can be consistent, which considering 4 of the 5 starters is returning is not optimal.
Yeah. Marley, that's a cop-out, brother. That's a cop-out. We said right now, if you had to say where this team is at right now, what do you think? You know, personally, as of right now, I look at this team and I'm seeing again, it depends on seeds.
It also depends, it depends on matchup too, man. Like
it really does.
This if you told me this team makes a Final Four because we're all healthy, I would fully believe it. If you told me this team lost in the first round because we drew a brutal 12 seed, I would totally believe it. You know, like there's just a wide variance right now until they show that they fight every single game. I mean,
you know, there is a stat though that with this lineup, Foster, Roach, who's the third? McCain, Mitchell, and Flip. They're 8-0 this season with this starting lineup. So I don't know if the starting lineup is going to last, but you know, I think it's a team that can make it to the Sweet 16, and the Sweet 16 is going to be depend on who they meet, really. Like, because if we get another physical team, right now we haven't shown that we respond well to physical teams.
Last year we were a 5 seed, right?
Were we a 5 seed?
I think we were a 5 because we played Oral Roberts. And then I think Tennessee was the 4. I think if we were a 5 seed again this year, it would it would be a failure. Just you can't call it anything else than a failure. Like the expectations are too high. You can't be a 5 seed, return 4 of your 5 starters, and be a 5 seed again. That'd be brutal. Oh, some people are saying we were a 4 seed. So fair enough. Point still applies. You can't say stagnant when you return 4 of your 5 4 of your 5 starters. You can't do it. You've got to show that you're better this year than you were last year.
Now we were a 5 seed.
Dude, that's what. Well, why were people in the comments saying that we were a 4 seed? I was pretty confident we were a 5 seed. Some people trying to trip me out here, man.
we were definitely a 5 seed.
It was a 12, man. It was the scary 5-12 game.
Yeah.
God damn it! These people trolling me in the comments, man. Yeah,
we were wearing road unis.
Yeah, and here's I asked you this, Zion, in text, and I'm going to put it on the record right now because I think it's an important question to ask. Let's say we end up with a 5 seed this year, right? Let's say that happens. I think it's a realistic outcome. If Duke was a 5 seed last year and a 5 seed this year, and the coach's name was John Smith.
Here we go. We'll sit back on this one.
You know what I mean? If his name was John Smith and he was not part of the Duke Brotherhood and he was not a guy that I absolutely love from his time playing, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. How warm would the seat be going into the Cooper Flag season? You know what I mean? If we get a 3, this would all be canceled out, by the way, with a strong end of the season, a 3 seed, a Sweet 16, Elite 8, whatever it is. If we're showing improvement, great. Great. Improvement is what matters. But if we stay stagnant at Duke University and the coach's name was John Smith and he was Bill Self's best assistant, and he had never coached at a high major level, right? He had never been a head coach, and he had 2 years, and at Duke he was a 5 seed and a 5 seed. Then how warm does the seat get? What percentage?
But that's a good point for Brandon, though. That is a good point. John Smith won an ACC title in his first year. That does
ACC tournament title, but yes,
yeah, it was. I mean, the tournament title means more than the regular season title.
To sub, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, that does kind of, I feel like, alleviate some of the heat that will come because, obviously we were a 5 seed last year. But if you had to rate his first year, you probably rated it a success.
And like a B, like a good, a solid B.
Yeah, but now you want to give B's. Very interesting.
You can go B plus. Go B plus then. B plus
then. But this year, if we were a 5 seed again, that is considered a failure, especially if we don't make a run. And then next year, I think, depending on the result of that determines, I think, whether he'd be on the hot seat or not.
Yeah, well, obviously the Cooper Flag season will determine a lot of things regardless, unless this season has a deep run, right? Like a lot can change if shit gets better. If shit gets better, then these struggles are but a distant memory, right? But like, I think that too often I've had a lot of people in my comments say, well, UConn won the title last year as a 4 seed. It's like, yeah, but they were like 14-0 before they had a tough stretch, and they beat every team by double figures. And then they had a tough stretch, and then the second that tough stretch ended, they beat everyone by double figures like the entire rest of the season. Like Duke just hasn't done that this year. Like 4 seeds don't win the title traditionally for a reason. Inconsistency. Consistency is the name of the game. You've got to be able to beat teams in a big way repeatedly, especially the teams that you are supposed to beat in a big way. And I agree with Barley also. I think we have a very good chance of beating Tennessee if Mark Mitchell plays. And then this whole conversation is very different because that side of the bracket was wide open. So then, like, what happens in the next round? You don't know, right?
What? Oh, bro, Bruce Wayne, get out this chat, man. Yo, the fact you've been a UNC fan and you've been here for an hour and 14 minutes is kind of crazy.
We appreciate the viewership. We appreciate the
We
engagement.
appreciate the viewership, but dang, bro, that is what you call rent free.
I think that Hubert is also such a great example of like me bringing up this conversation has nothing to do with whether John is a good coach. I think that John absolutely can become a really good coach. It has more to do with the pressure that comes with being at a blue blood. Hubert, until February, his first season or whatever, was persona non grata, right? And then he wins the 2 big games against K, goes to the final, goes to the championship game. Everyone's like, he's the future. Then last season happens. Persona non grata once again. It doesn't matter that he went to the championship the season before. He came into this season, people were like, oh, Hubert. Now they're great. Now he's a great coach again, right? When you're at a blue blood, it is a what have you done? As Janet Jackson said, what have you done for me lately? You know what I mean? That is all that matters at a blue blood. Until you have a title, it is what have you done for me lately?
Mm-hmm.
Because I tell you this, if Hubert wins the ACC this year and they lose in the first round somehow, conversation's going to get interesting again. And it won't matter that they played brilliantly all season. What have you done for me lately? Right? So until you have the safety net of a title, none of the rest matters. Right? You've got to show consistent improvement. You've got to show that you can be competitive up at the highest level repeatedly and not fail when you're at a UNC, when you're at a Duke. So it has nothing to do with John's coaching ability, me asking this question. It has to do with like people expect results. And they don't expect to wait for results the way people waited for results when K came here. People ain't going to wait 4 or 5 years to figure out, oh, has he got the juice? You know what I mean? We're gonna find out now, and if we don't find out, it's gonna be a problem. I don't want to even think. That's the other thing. We can't even think about the alternative, dude. I was texting you about this too. John Scheyer needs to be the dude. I need him to be the dude, because if he's not the dude, then it's going to stretch out for a while of him not being the dude. It's going to be bad. And then they're going to replace his ass with Tommy Amaker, and that shit's not going to go well either.
No comment.
It's going to be a run, dude. Well, that was public knowledge. That was reported.
I plead the fifth.
You can plead the fifth all you want, man. Michigan Seton Hall, and he hadn't won an Ivy League title in a decade. I don't think that.
This is crazy.
I don't think it will work out. Am I tripping? I don't think. People in the comments. Am I wrong?
Plead the fifth.
I don't think I'm wrong, man. So I need John to be the dude, and he has shown flashes. Again, he's a young coach. He's going to take his lumps too. I fully acknowledge that. I just hope that with this great group and with the great group that we'll have next year, that we get the results that will give him the time to continue to grow. That's what I hope for. That is what I hope. You know what I mean? Man.
I'm gonna give him some time, man. I'm gonna give him some time.
We need to give him time. I agree, but he's got to have results in that time. He's got to have some results in that time.
Hey, man.
If people think I'm wrong, then let the shit even go 10 degrees south and see how people respond, man.
I think no, next year is just a really true evaluator, just off the fact when you do look at our past, I think our best teams in the past since 2015, to be honest, all of those teams have had 3 first-round picks or more in the first round.
It's a lot of talent.
When you look at Paolo's team, Bagley's team, Zion's team, Jaleel's team, even Tatum's team got hot at the end, although they had an early ending, they became what they could have become in the ACC tournament. But those 4 at least, 15, Bagley, Zion, and then Paolo's team, all of them had top picks for one, and they had 3 first-round picks.
Yeah. Tremendous talent. And part of that talent was also making sure that those players were ready to play and were good and developed over the summer and played together as a team and had chemistry and all those things. Yeah. Put up Carlton Rand's comment. Bro, dude, there's like, you know, what happens though if the Cooper Flag season doesn't go the way that you want it to? You know what I mean? I think it will go the way we want it to, but like you have to also just, this is just what my point is. Like, it's a results oriented thing. If you can't deliver with the dude on your floor, I don't think you get, well, he's still learning. You know what I mean? I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong in terms of that. And by the way, all of what I've said is hypothetical because I think he is the dude and he needs to be the dude. But that's why, getting back to this season, we've got to show improvement this year. We've got to show improvement this year.
Yeah.
I don't think a lack of improvement is going to be tolerated by people. I really, really don't. I really don't. He can get one mulligan, maybe. And after that, A-Law, I'm not saying he has to win it all in like 2 or 3 years, but he's got to show that he can be the dude. He's got to show he can be the dude.
My fault, Cade. Let me get that off the screen. Man.
Yeah, now people are telling me I'm not wrong. That's good. I was about to say, I don't think I'm wrong here. But like again, he's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy. We need him to be the guy. He's one of my favorite players. I was at Duke when he was there. He's incredible. But we need him to be the guy. And I really want this season to end in a really nice run.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it's a consistency thing, but like if we can figure out the consistency, then the talent is all there. I still think the talent is there. It's the consistency.
So let's quickly look at our next couple games. Because there has to be a game in late January, maybe February, early February, that has to be the switch game where we flip the switch. Hold on, let me see this question. Design say how far Duke will go. Yeah, I said Sweet 16, and you know it's dependent on matchups, but I'll go see Sweet 16 as of right now. But let's look at the schedule real quick.
I mean, Clemson is a big one. Clemson's a big one.
Here we go. Clemson. I didn't realize Carolina is that close.
Dude, this is the stretch. This is the stretch where I said we have to win. I said earlier in the season we have to win 2 of these 3 games. If we want any chance of if we want a prayer of an ACC regular season title, we got to win 3 out of 3 games. But in order to be considered a good team, we got to win 2 of these 3 games. And the game at Cameron Indoor Stadium against Clemson,
that's a must win.
That's a must win, especially given how the last game went in Cameron. You cannot let Clemson waltz in and beat you on your home. You can't lose 2 in a row at Cameron. If you lose 2 in a row at Cameron, warm up the bus, dude. Warm up the bus. You can't lose 2 in a row. You can't lose 2 in a row at Cameron, dude.
And we're getting approaching late January. This is no longer early Jan. This is, how we're playing into February now. But yeah, that the Virginia Tech game actually scares me the most here. Obviously, we've talked about it enough, what we do at Virginia Tech.
We lose.
Yeah.
That's what we tend to do at Virginia Tech is lose.
Pretty much.
But I'll say this about the Virginia Tech game. They do not have athleticism at all. Like they are legit they have sounds like an insult. Maybe it's a little insulting, but they have a really good mid-major roster. Like they've got dudes who would be the player of the year at a mid-major level. You know what I mean? But like athleticism-wise, can't really defend at this level and can't do anything. But what they can do is shoot the leather off the ball and absolutely fill it up. And if we leave those corner threes, Mike Young is a smart enough coach to just have these dudes fire corner three after corner three, and they'll make 14 threes against us if they're not playing defense.
Man, we've already seen Hunter Couture, what Hunter Couture has done to us, and then Padula playing out of his mind this year. Like, you know,
I get it. I mean, they're struggling against BC at home right now.
Yeah, I'm seeing right now they are, but you know, that atmosphere a little bit different when Duke comes in there. That's
for sure, no question.
Oh man,
no question. Yeah, and then the game isn't the first one at UNC. Isn't the one in the week at UNC?
Yes.
I mean, that is a big ask. Look, we've been tweeting about some of this. UNC's perimeter defense right now is genuinely historically great in the sense that no team has ever defended the three as well as they are defending it in terms of 3-point percentage right now.
A little lucky.
And so I think there's a bit of luck in there. Do I think they are still a great perimeter defense? Absolutely. Do I think we will struggle to get some threes going against them? I 100% do. But I also think that there's a regression monster that's lying in wait somewhere. And I just hope it's when we come to town. If it's when we come to town, then that's going to be a really fun game. If it's not when we come to town, it might not be a fun game. It might be a real not fun game.
I do feel weirdly confident about that game. Part of the reason is because it's Duke UNC. You throw records out the window. You throw trends out the window. I mean, we've seen it. Obviously, what we did to Carolina 2 years ago at Carolina, that seemed a little bit more like where the teams were at the time. But Carolina was still playing semi-bad going into Cameron and obviously did what they did. And obviously, you know, we don't got to talk about the rest of the season.
Duke took what I really hope that they can take from some of that. I thought we played well in the Final Four game. They just made a couple of hard shots.
Yeah.
But Duke did not look prepared for that game in Cameron. They looked like they were, you know, taking it for granted. And, you know, there are certainly stories that are out there. I would like to think that is a game on this slate that we don't take for granted, that we don't go, oh, well, it's their championship. Like,
we better play it like it's our championship.
We damn well better play it like it's our championship. 100%. And Bruce Wayne is right. Wake Forest was an exceptional 3-point shooting team and just went in there and shot 15% from three on volume. So, I mean, that's no joke. They are a genuinely elite perimeter defense. It's just a matter of how elite. I don't think they are going to hold teams to 23% from three or lower the rest of the season. Yeah. That would be a historic number. Do I think that they can hold teams to 28, 29% from three? Yeah, I do think that they could do that, but that's 6 whole percent. That's a big difference, you know?
But I will say, I mean, that Duke UNC games, as much as people love them, as much as the endings are ultimate classics, probably the best endings in sports, they tend to be ugly anyway. They tend to be very low scoring, tend to be very poor shooting, poor shooting games, ugly games that are muck it up and just end with cinematic endings, you know. But so I don't really even expect I don't expect us to shoot well. I don't expect UNC to shoot well either. That's typically how it ends up. Besides that one year, we beat them by like 30.
And I think a few of the games that they've played, UNC has shot like 30% or less from three. It's not like I don't think they're winning with defense right now. They're straight up winning because their defense is fantastic. Yeah, so, you know.
Yeah, we definitely, the Field of 68 needs to be at the Duke UNC, but it's our Field of 68.
Dude. Invite us.
You know, let's you know, Jeff Goodman, you know, we love y'all, Rob, you know, but y'all should be sending us out there. You know, come on now.
I need Duke to go on a run in the tournament this year because if they make it to the Final Four, I live a short drive from Phoenix, baby. I would be there with bells on. I would be there with absolute bells on.
Man.
You know.
Hey, shout out to Bruce, man. You know, even though you're a Tar fan, we do respect that you do watch from start to finish. I thought you were a Duke fan. Russ pointed out you were a Tar fan. I didn't even know you were a Tar fan, but we definitely appreciate you
Oh God.
tapping in. But yes, I think Goodman picked Duke to beat UNC by 45 for Coach K. Well, to be honest, I think a lot of people picked Duke to smack UNC that night. I don't think he was the only one. I mean, they just beat UNC by 30 the game before at UNC, you know. And UNC looked defeated.
It
at
was
that point.
Yeah. That was a bad set of circumstances. And I think that was the point at which the media frenzy that Coach K very willingly participated in, I think that bit us a little bit that day. I think that played a role for sure. And it also played a role in motivating UNC without question. I mean, like, imagine getting that opportunity and they took advantage of it, right? You know, like that just is what it is. So like Duke has to have that level of hunger always.
Right. Yo,
Duke has to be mad. Duke has to be like Taylor Swift fans after an actor that she just wrote a song about mad. You know,
I have to bring up Taylor Swift, man.
Her fans get mad, dude. Her fans get mad. We need Duke to play Taylor Swift fan level mad. That's what we need. We need Duke to play Beyonce Beehive level mad.
Oh, that is crazy.
That's what I'm saying. We need to be insane out there, dude. That's what we want.
Quick comment on Jay Williams. Oh, you want me? I'll comment on Jay Williams.
What did he say? What was it?
He said he would transfer to UNC if he had to leave Duke. You know.
So what?
To me, it's not a so what. To be honest, I thought it was just kind of weak because, like, it's one thing if if you were saying, okay, if I wouldn't have gone to Duke, I would have gone to UNC. But the fact that it was after Duke, I don't really care. I'll be honest, I don't care. But I'm just not. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know.
Let me ask you this: if Jay Will, because this was the context of the comment, obviously. If Jay Will was in high school today and he was watching college basketball today, which player do you think he's watching and going, I will play like that guy. I could be that guy. I want to be in that system.
It's
RJ Davis, right?
Yes and no. I mean, but
that's why he said it. He said explicitly that it was because they run faster than any other team and they let the guards score freely, and that's why he would go to. That's why.
But I don't even think that's fair because it's just like I don't think there are that many good guards in the country this year. It's very big man oriented. So I mean, you could go to Arizona.
He could. I'm sure he probably could have said that too. If Kylan Boswell was playing at RJ Davis's level, then maybe he would have said that comment. But he's not. Yeah. RJ is just on an absolute heater. And Duke, when Jay Will was there, was the fastest team in the country, I think, at the high major level. And if you told me that UNC was the fastest high major level team right now, I wouldn't be surprised. It's probably them or Alabama, right?
Yeah,
or Arizona, right?
We've been trying to say Duke should play fast or past.
Dude, I don't even want to get into that.
That's done. That's dead. That's clearly just not going to happen anytime soon. Although I hope it happens with Cooper Flag. If it doesn't happen, then there will be issues.
Bro, we don't need
to get to that
conversation, dude. If John Smith has us at the 250th tempo in the country with Cooper Flag, warm up the bus.
Warm up the bus. And right now, we are warming up the bus because we got to get out of here. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Maybe back Saturday. I don't know.
It'll be a big game. I mean, I would certainly be willing. I don't know if Ryan is going to be freed from the institution where he's being kept right now.
Yeah,
but I'm sure
we punched someone on the street. He's in jail tonight.
He punched someone on the street for spilling his Bush Light. Yeah.
But we appreciate y'all, man. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. Hey, I'm really happy Twitter comments are back. Twitter comments were booming today. Appreciate y'all. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment,
thumbs up.
Yeah, give us that thumbs up. And if you're on podcasts, if you're not subscribed already, subscribe, man. Share. We got good numbers on the last audio only pod. Like I said, audio only pods are coming back next year. Should we do the secret word at the end of the show? Nah, it's too many live viewers right now. It's too many live. Yeah.
I do want to say I want Duke on the Apple podcast chart to be consistently ahead of the UNC podcasts. So come on, man. If you're a Duke fan and you're listening to this, once you see this podcast drop, just hit the download, man. Just hit the download for the rivalry's sake. You know what I mean?
Can't be letting UNC pie. Come on, bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On, this is a home field hoodie, by the way. Somebody asked that earlier. Home field hoodie.
Home field hoodie.
Crazy. Crazie. Get a discount at home field. Do the thing.
Get the discount, man.
Do the thing.
But we out. We appreciate y'all for tuning in.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
right now?
Man. Russ is getting the closing credits on
the
Russ.
elevator down.
Put the thumbs up, man. Put the thumbs up.
There it is.